Yes, this is the 260. I'm Joe Walburn. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor of the 260, Dave Rickert. We got Matt Brumball in the house. We're about to celebrate that 40-year anniversary, Brumball.
Wow.
Can you believe it, man?
40 years.
1983. I think the song was, "Let's Hear It for the Boy." You know? Don't say anything, Denise, about my singing.
That's great singing.
I'm excited tonight, man. I got tonight, episode 17, we have the college coach that if I was coming out right now, I would want to play for in Coach Abs. So I'm excited to talk with Coach Abs and hear about his journey. And I tell you what, though, speaking of journeys, though, take us back to 1983, Matt. A little bit of anniversary this week for you, 40 years.
You know, I think it has to go back to 1981. I was in 8th grade in 1981, and the Northrop baseball team went to the state finals that year. Doug Rickert, Dave's brother, was third baseman, leadoff hitter on that team. And
he was a baller, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, gamer. You know, all those guys. I mean, they were
most bats record and fewest strikeout percentage.
Yeah.
Wow. How about that, man?
He got after it.
He's tied with Eric Wedge and somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a good name to be tied with.
Yeah. But, you know, those guys kind of led the way. The program started to get on the uptick, and they got down the state finals, and unfortunately Ben Davis was a little bit too much that day. And but young guys like myself, those guys were our heroes. So when we came in as freshmen, we were scared to death, really, of them. But they kind of, embraced us and said, "Hey, you're part of this culture, and we're trying to, keep this Northrop baseball thing
going."
Yeah, and so '82, when I was a freshman, I got to hang around, with those guys, and I didn't get to dress. I got to dress in regionals. I didn't dress in sectionals.
Sure.
And I was probably bad luck for them because they got beat by, I believe, East Noble that game in regionals.
East Noble got them.
But that next year, young ball club, first three hitters in the lineup were sophomores.
Wow.
We had a senior catcher. We had a senior left fielder and two senior pitchers. And, it was kind of a journey. And I think about, those guys that led the way in '81 and just how they embraced us and they were happy for us that we were going, made the run that we did. We got beat by Northside in the SAC championship game at our place 3-2. And
you think that maybe lit a fire, or you guys
that was the wake up call. It wasn't a wake up call. It was like, we can play with these guys. It's one of those. We were already in a position to win the championship. Got beat by them. And I remember Coach Stavretti saying, he goes, "This won't mean a thing, a couple weeks from now because we're going to be playing in sectionals." And so we went through sectionals, and we got to play Northside again, and we beat their ass. We beat
How
their
about
ass.
that?
It was a nice. We beat them.
It's been 40 years, man.
We
that
beat
doesn't
them.
mean,
Hey,
that doesn't mean we're not still fired up, Sonar.
No. So we beat them 10-1, and I mean we got it.
Wow, 10-1.
And I will tell you that it was. We got out of school early that day because the tournament got backed up by a couple days because of rain. And when we left, it was the most quiet bus ride I've ever taken in my entire life.
Guys just focused,
ready to go.
Yeah,
we got off that bus and we were ready to go. And I don't know if it was. I don't think we were nervous, even though we were young. We were just ready to go. We were just ready to play.
Let me ask you this, because again, you and Dave are so well schooled in baseball, though. High school playoff baseball, it would seem to me as an outsider, every at bat had to just have so much anxiety to it, man. I mean,
Joe,
how
every school in the SAC was good.
Yeah,
I mean, so
absolutely.
like every inning, every out, every at bat in playoff baseball, to make a run like that, you talk about just walking a tightrope every game, man. Talk about just the emotions and being locked in.
Yeah, I mean, just we got past that sectional, we go on to regionals, we played DeKalb in the morning game. Tight ball game, and we got a fly ball that they had to bring their outfield in. Jeff Griffith came up, hit a fly ball over him. We win that game 4-3.
Wow.
We got to bounce back in the afternoon because it's a 2-gamer, and we got to play Elmhurst. Now
Elmhurst was tough back then. Man.
Elmhurst was loaded.
Yeah,
and one of the great plays in probably Northrop history. It's a 1-1 ball game. And we had brought Bob McHenry in to pitch, so we had to switch our outfield in. We bring in a sophomore outfielder, Dave Mankey. He goes and plays right field. Fly ball, so pretty deep. thinking, okay, Elmhurst just took the lead 2-1. He throws a dime to the plate. They tag out the runner at the plate.
Sophomore.
He was a sophomore. I mean,
wow, just a gun, huh?
We were going nuts, man. We were high five. We were like, we're going to win this game.
Wow. So just that and that's what's funny about sports. And Dave always says this. Man, you can have one moment of emotion that is like you can feel it, can't you? I mean, it's such an intangible feeling, but
So we come out that next half inning. I led off. I got a base hit. I think Derek Westfield got a base hit, and I was at second base. I remember because Steve Finken played shortstop. Great player for Elmhurst. Played for the Dodgers organization.
Yeah.
Went to University of Michigan. Just one of the best. And ball, we got lucky. A ball kind of, side, he was going up the middle, kind of flipped off his glove. I score from second. We come back the next half inning. We shut him down. We win the game 2-1. So now we're on.
Okay.
So now we're on to semi-state.
Okay. So how do you not celebrate too much that regional championship and get ready to semi-state? Because semi-state was 2 games too, wasn't it?
2 games too.
Wow, man. I mean, what a journey. Okay. So now,
Not one game like they do now.
So now, a huge win over Elmhurst.
Yeah.
Now take us through. You got to refocus, dial back in for semi-state.
Yeah. So we go up and play Plymouth. First game of semi-state up at Michigan City. We played at Ames Field.
Ames Field. Wow.
And anybody knows Ames Field, it's a football field.
That's a football field. That's right.
So you're playing a semi-state football field, 376 feet down the left field line, only 310 down the right field line.
So it's okay to be late.
476 to center field. Jeff Griffith hits a 2-hopper 476 feet and only gets a triple out of it because he fell around first base. But
I bet the guys were clowning too.
Oh man, you know it. But we came out. They had Todd Samuelson, who was a great basketball player at Plymouth, played with Skiles. Scott Skiles was in the stands that day. He had already graduated. He played shortstop for Plymouth, but played basketball at Michigan State at that time.
Wow, great
He's in
name.
the stands.
Scott Skiles, man.
And we pounded them. We came out 10-3 and
wow,
now
10-3 in the semi-state.
So now we're on to the championship game.
Championship game in semi-state. Who's pitching for you? Who you guys against?
Well,
Brad Glass, wasn't it?
Yeah, Brad Glass, I think, pitched the night game because I think Kent McQuaid pitched the morning game, and we're playing Highland, their team up in the region.
Yep, in the region.
Yep,
great school.
And we tight ball game. Could have went either way, and all of a sudden we just busted it loose and ended up winning 7-2 and. We got, so now here we go. Now we've won semi-state. These are guys. We're not supposed to win this thing.
That's when it's kind of the sweetest. We're the underdog.
We are not supposed to win this thing.
Sure.
So now all of a sudden we're at state. So
who'd you play in the state championship?
Well, we played Evansville Memorial in the semifinals,
correct,
and we played Terre Haute South in the finals.
Wow.
But the funny,
what was that?
Well,
like,
here's the thing. So it changed that year. So you played the semifinal on Friday night and the championship game on Saturday. Before, they've always played 2 games Saturday and championship game on Saturday night.
Did you like that?
It was strange because
you guys were so used to playing those 2 games, the regional semi-state.
Joe, with my brother's team, in between games, 3 guys got food poisoning.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So maybe that way going Friday, Saturday.
Well, I don't know about that because I'll tell a story here in a second.
That's why you got to make sure you eat at the right places. If you're going to eat at that King Gyros down south, you better make sure you know what you're putting in your pie hole, right, Dave?
No kidding.
So we go play that game. Well, before the game, a lot of guys from 81 came and kind of talked to us that week
awesome, man.
about
how cool is that?
And they were always like, Busch Stadium, and just don't get caught up in it's a big stadium, and you're going to see TV cameras up there and all that stuff. And we were cocky. We were like, these guys are crazy, man. They don't know anything. They're just trying to throw their 2 cents in. We got there. We were like, damn, they're right. This is pretty big. It's pretty big. But we played Evansville Memorial. Same situation. This time we sent Dave Mankey into center field instead of right field. McHenry comes into the game to pitch. Mankey throws somebody out to play from center field.
Wow. And that just gets you guys rolling.
And that
man.
held us. I think we won that game 3-1 or 3-2.
Oh my gosh! So that's what's amazing about the baseball. I mean, it's such razor thin margins, man. I mean, those last couple of outs,
and you've got.
You
got to have a little luck. I mean, there's no doubt.
Well, to win that many games in a single tournament like that, you've got to have a little bit of that angel on your shoulder.
Absolutely. So
okay, so you win that.
So we win. Now here's the story. So we go back to the hotel. We played a late game. So we're back at the hotel, and our fans found out what floor we were staying on. So it's party time.
Oh man, there's got to be curfew, right?
We're already in our rooms. They ordered us pizzas. Okay, we went back and went swimming real quick, and then we went. Coach Stavretti ordered pizzas, and they were about the hardest cardboard pizzas you could ever have in the world. And the great police officer who was a right fielder for us, Derek Westfield, he decides he's going to start chucking these pizzas from the window in the hotel and hitting cabs below.
Oh no!
So
man, you can't do that.
No, this is good. I mean, this is Northern baseball, man. So our fans are they're going nuts. Coach Stavretti, Coach Hay, and Coach Yale had to take turns walking the halls to make sure nobody was getting in our rooms.
Yeah,
we were so hyped up just from playing. We didn't. I went to bed at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh!
In a closet because I couldn't sleep. I just
ready.
went to the closet, man. Went to sleep. So Coach
what memories, man.
So Coach gets us up early. We have a 1:00 game. And he gets us up early, and he takes us all to the racetrack, and we're all like,
"The racetrack? No, wait a minute, man. Now wait a minute, Now wait a minute, man. You guys are going to play the state championship game, 1983, the high school state baseball championship game, and you guys are at the racetrack betting on the ponies."
No,
the
Indy 500.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Which is even worse.
I thought they went. I thought they were betting on ponies. So no, Indy 500.
Joe, I would have liked to have been to the pony races instead of just going to the racetrack and looking. He goes, "This is the speedway," and we're like,
"Why would you go there?" Plus,
I don't know.
Plus the heat.
And then we go. It was hotter than hell.
Oh my God! You guys are all of a sudden you're probably worn out from the heat.
So we get
absolutely
we get to Busch Stadium before they even open the gates. And I mean,
what a crazy!
And I can remember,
48 hours.
I can remember going down in the tunnel and just seeing the heat, coming off the field.
Man.
It was that hot.
You guys, see, I would have never taken you out of the AC. But maybe you got.
He had a plan. So
he had a plan. It worked.
So
what do you think his thought was to do that?
I have no idea other than get our ass up. I mean,
Indianapolis.
Did he just want to see the track?
I don't know. I mean, I'm like we have never seen this
track.
I'm like, we've never seen this thing before. We've seen it on TV.
You guys are going to a sightseeing trip. It's like, hey, we got that.
We got a baseball.
We got that state championship game. Oh, we'll get to that.
So we were playing, and Kent McQuaid started the game, and he struggled a little bit. We got out to a 1-0 lead. I scored in the first inning on an error, and we gave a couple runs up. We ended up going down 2-1, and Brad Glass came in, and Brad Glass was just lights out. I mean, he held.
He has a bulldog attitude. Man.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's just a bulldog. Yeah. So he's throwing strikes. So you guys down 2-1.
He's just keeping us right there. And then the fifth inning, bottom of the fifth, Marty McLean, he was a pinch hitter for us, another sophomore, gets on base, starts the inning, and Bob McHenry bunted, but it was unsuccessful. So he's on first. I'm up to bat. I get a base hit to right field. So now we're first and second. And Derek Westfield comes up, hits a blooper down the right field line. McHenry scores the tying run, and I come around to third. Derek's on second. And Mark Gorsuch, another sophomore.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy.
Just young guys making plays.
And he gets a 3-1 pitch, and he hits it, and it almost hits Westfield as he's on second base coming off.
Just drills it. Westfield just barely gets out of the way.
Couldn't have been more than a couple feet.
Yeah.
And Derek and I score, and we held on. But the craziest thing was the last play of the game. There's 2 outs.
And what's the score with 2 outs?
We're up 4-2.
Anybody on?
Guy on first base. 2 outs.
2 outs.
And they hit a ball to third base, and Georgie Dunn, our third baseman, throws it over to first. And the guy's clearly out at first base. calls him safe. The umpire calls him safe.
You're kidding me.
At the same time, the guy that was on first starts wandering, and he goes to third base. Gorsuch throws a bullet over to third base. Georgie Dunn just throws a swipe tag down. Never came close to tagging him. Umpire at third rings him up. Game over. Where it's dog pile. We win the game.
Make-up call, you think?
All in the same play.
Maybe it was maybe the third base guy recognized. Maybe it was a
I hope so. But
maybe it was. We gotta get this right.
But it was in that dog pile. We win it. And
what was that like, man? When he rang him out and it sunk in, man.
You know,
what was the emotion, man? I mean, even 40 years, man, it still just chokes you up, doesn't it?
Well, I think when you play in the game, and I don't lie about this stuff. I don't remember a lot of the game until I went back and watched it.
Yeah, because
I was so focused in what was going on.
Such a big moment.
But it was not only a great moment for us as a team. It was a great. The guys in '81 were all in the first. They were in first row of the first base dugout.
Yeah. So how cool is that, man?
Great. Oh, it was awesome because we actually all got together that night and argued about who had the better team. And they no doubt had probably the better team. But 1983 team had the blue rings, and that's
There's
what
a big difference between blue and red.
Yep.
Wow, and that's a ring that you have forever, man. I mean,
had it forever,
1983. Man. Let's hear it for the boys.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, exactly. But just
what was the parade like?
Well, we went to the Three Rivers parade, and we were on a float. I was kind of like, let's just get rid of this. Let's go play some more ball, man.
Yeah, you were just
because at that time you had summer instructional ball, and that
sure.
And I would go back to that freshman year of mine, coming into my sophomore year of Stav put us all together. He let the older guys go. He let them go kind of play summer ball other places, except for a few guys, but everybody else he kept together, and that was the key, And I think that was a big way of how the program got developed, was that instructional baseball. But it was unbelievable.
Everybody coming back for the golf outing?
We're trying. I mean, we're trying to get as many guys back
Sure.
for the golf outing in August, and it'll be great to see a lot of those guys. I still get to see most of them, but
how many do you think are coming?
We're hoping maybe 6, 7, 8. Hopefully, get it up to 10. I don't know. We'll see, but. Just great memories, great. It's hard to believe 40 years have passed.
260 Classic, the 1983 state champion Northrop Bruins, man. We had one of them with us, Matt Brumbaugh, man. Now, quickly before we finish up this segment, I want to say, hey, shouts out and congratulations to Tay Johnson.
Absolutely.
I told you it was Notre Dame.
You said,
Go Irish, baby.
I was thinking Purdue. Purdue was flying in private jets at the end, and he was actually Purdue's #1 priority. But you know what? Congratulations
Notre
to Tay.
Dame's a lifetime.
Well, and you know what? He's the first kid ever from North that has committed and accepted a scholarship to play for Notre Dame
That's
that
awesome.
I'm aware of, at least, unless we go back and I'm not aware of anybody else, and that's so huge. And plus the academics for North in our public schools. I mean, how about that, man?
Yep.
And I just want to congratulations to Tay. Congratulations to Long Takes Media on a tremendous documentary. I mean,
I was impressed with that.
I thought that was so well done. And I tell you what, if you don't like Coach Johnson now, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? I mean, you saw it, Brummy.
Yeah.
The passion.
What he has to do
coaching,
behind the scenes is
what you
I
have
saw.
to do behind the scenes. You got to be a
nobody has
Coach
any
Abs,
idea. Yeah.
Coach Abs knows coming up. You got to be a master psychologist.
Yes.
I mean, all of it. I thought the documentary was great, man. I just think it puts. And I would love to see more of our programs have those documentaries.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's awesome. And I tell you what, man, it's just exciting times for the 260. And speaking of excitement, man, a coach that I would love to play for, Troy Abs, coming up next. Coach Abs on the 260.
It feels like we're taking the crown. It feels like we were born to be champions. We were born to be champions. We were born to have a name in the lights, 'cause we're taking a ride to the top, to the top. Born to be champions. We were born to be
It's the 260 Podcast, live from Spiece Fieldhouse every Thursday at 7 p.m., highlighting all Indiana sports, featuring guests from the 260 area code and beyond. Live on YouTube every Thursday at 7 p.m. Just search the 260, also available anywhere you find your podcasts. And remember, when searching, there are no zeros in the 260. It's the 260 Podcast, live from Spiece Fieldhouse every Thursday at 7 p.m.
Yes, this is the 260. I'm Joe Walburn. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor, Dave Rickert. We got the great Matt Brumbaugh, just celebrated 40 years of anniversary. 1983 Northrop Bruins state championship baseball team. And one of my favorite people, Dave, in the 260, a coach that I would have loved to play for, but also a 260 historian and a guy that we could probably open up the mics and let him have some fun with it. But the one and only, man, Coach Abs joins us tonight on the 260.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Nice.
Coach, thanks for joining us. And I tell you what, man, we're going to start late 80s, early 90s in Kendallville, man.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your mom and dad. Tell us about your family. And tell us how this great journey began and on into East Noble.
Yeah, grew up in Kendallville, Indiana, back when the Little League Diamond was inside the horse track at the fairgrounds.
How about that, man?
You know, grew up just beyond the left field fence of the high school baseball diamond, and you know, I thought all snow had little black specks in it because it was east of the foundry. You know what I mean? So if I seem a little off sometimes, guys, I mean, there's a reason that's
specks in the
that's
snow.
in me, man. That
Ate a lot of that snow.
that is in me, no doubt. But had great parents. My mom grew up in Kendallville, and her parents had a hardware store, Western Auto Hardware store downtown, and she helped out there. And then my dad worked at Crafts and started loading trucks, and ended up number 2. So
Number 2.
had a
Worked all the way up to number 2.
yeah,
huh?
it's pretty cool.
That's cool,
Pretty
man.
cool.
That's impressive, man.
And you know, but lived in the same house my entire life, and got to go over and you know, shag foul balls for the baseball team during their practices and games, and was able to have, you know, just a lot of really good role models. You know, guys that you know, played in the 80s, and you know, let me hang out and be a part of what they were doing. And my dad was a statistician for Bob Wyant's East Noble football teams in the 80s.
See,
so
Dad
I was on
kept
the
the stats, huh?
sidelines.
Wow.
I was on the sidelines as a ball boy really early, and got to be in the locker
That
room.
kind of gets you the love of the game a little bit.
Yeah,
Coach?
it did. You know, and I got to, you know, had to sit in the corner and shut my mouth, and, you know, while the coaches were in Coach Wyant's office, and Coach Wyant just really influential guy. You know, was a teacher later on.
So at a young age, you was taking in all the knowledge then.
Well, yeah, just you know, how to motivate, the passion, the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You know, you guys were talking about the North Side documentary, and just that passion that exists in sport, and the relationships you gain from that are lifelong.
And what I enjoyed most about the documentary, I want you to comment on this, Coach Abs, is just the rawness of the sideline. You know, when you play, you see the rawness of the sideline.
The emotion.
When I would do the games, the high school football games, Brummy, I always kind of wanted to get down to the sideline, interview the kids. I like to go down a little early because I just like to hang around and watch that. To me, that's one of the greatest things of football is just that pure rawness of the emotions and how guys like you can coach on the fly and then you see the master psychologist. I mean, we saw that a little bit with Coach Tyree with Northside with the defense. Just with having to be a tough, hard-nosed coach, but also having to be a psychologist at times. But talk about that in the documentary. I kind of enjoyed that the most, the rawness.
I think, the rawness, and it shows the amount of talent that we have in our assistant coaches in the Fort Wayne area. I've known that Lawrence Davis is a great coach for a long time. I've known that Tyree is a great football coach. Billy Skelton, the offensive coordinator at Homestead, is a great coach.
Great.
I mean, we could go on and on talking about all these assistant coaches that we have here in Fort Wayne in a lot of different sports and the things that they go through. They're not always in front of the camera, first and foremost, but those are the guys that really make things go. Those are the guys that develop those relationships with those young men and push them. And a lot of times when people are intense, that's all the public sees. They don't, and that documentary did a great job of showing guys being pulled aside, and loved on in the right way and at the right time.
That's such a great point because
they're
when
just
you
not
watch
bitching at you to bitch.
No,
they want to help you.
But he's right. They loved on him, but at times they were tough. And I also thought I was impressed with the way Ben, let his assistant coaches also. And you can talk to this, Coach Abs. It's got to be difficult. To let your assistant coaches coach and do their thing, but also everybody kind of knows their boundaries and where they're at. And I felt like when I watched the documentary, it felt like the boundaries. They went at halftime. Jalen Flores had the injury, couldn't play the second half. I actually did the game, did the Dwayne game, and that was a big issue. When I found out he was out, I'm like, okay, how are they gonna deploy their offensive linemen? But they sat in there and talked and listened to each other, and I thought it really captured the dynamic of a head coach and how he works with his lieutenants. His assistant coaches behind the scenes, man.
The most important thing you do as a head coach is hire great people. Because there are so many different things going on within a football program.
Sure.
So many different sets of knowledge that you have to have. And I don't know that one person in the world has them all. Maybe Belichick. But that might be it.
Yeah, it might be it.
And you've got to hire the right people, and you've got to give them the freedom to do what they need to do, but you've got to provide the vision for the culture, the expectations, and you've got to, as a head coach, hold everybody accountable to that culture. Your players, your assistant coaches, and yourself too.
But let me ask you this. That's a great point. So you have to hold them accountable. Like a guy like you who is a fantastic defensive coordinator, then you become a head coach. How do you delegate and let go, though? I mean, is that difficult just to be like, okay, I know I hired the right guy. I got to delegate this and let this go. As a head coach, how do you let go with some of that stuff?
It was difficult. And one of the things that when I became the head coach is I continued to call defense. And, I talking to a lot of people that did it. Pat Narduzzi did the same thing at Pitt, and I was lucky enough to learn a lot of football from him while he was at Miami of Ohio under Coach Hepner. As a young coach, I'd go down and learn from these guys, and I asked him, I go, what do you do? He's like, well, this is how I got the job. I want to keep it. And after a while, being a head coach, you start to understand that you're needed in so many different areas.
So many responsibilities.
And he's done the same thing. Tom Allen started out as a defensive coordinator, and he relinquished those play calling abilities. And as you talk to different people, you just start to grow, and and envision what it should look like and how things should run and what the relationships between your players and coaches should look like. And you spend so much time, if you're doing it right, doing that, you don't really have time to call ball.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Makes
right now
sense.
I decide if we punt, and I run our punt team. I decide if we go for two.
Your special teams.
And,
because you got so much
But you do.
You're the CEO, and you got to have a CFO. You have to have a controller. You have to.
I mean, as a head coach, you have to be the CEO. I mean, you have.
That's what it is.
I mean, I would tell you, and I said this probably an episode ago. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
You know, when I was coaching,
Right.
and Coach Abs would say the same thing. It's you have to trust your assistants for one thing, and make sure that they're on the same page. And you don't have any of this back talk, or squabbling or behind the back stuff.
Yeah.
If it is, you got to nip that in the bud right away. But you shouldn't have that if you hire the right people. And that's number one lesson I learned from Coach Stavretti was surround yourself with good people, and you'll have a good program.
Yep.
So,
Okay, Coach. You got the discipline, the toughness. You've got the management skills. Let's finish up with your mom and dad a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you take from your mom and your dad that really kind of ingrained those skills that have made you successful?
I think that there was an expectation that you should always perform to your potential, if not outperform your potential.
Wow.
And I think if we hold people to that, then we're going to have success. We're going to get the best out of people. That's really what my parents taught me. My parents taught me to work hard. That great grades were the expectation because God gave you a gift.
Well, if your father worked all the way up through craft, Dave.
Number 2.
I mean, how do you grew up in that household?
Yeah.
You're going to have to excel, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Now, Dave tells me your first love was it baseball?
I love the game of baseball. I'm married to football. I always
know
say,
you are.
but I like to flirt with baseball every once in a while. And
coming up.
early in my career, I mean, that's what I thought I wanted to do. I was a heck of a lot better baseball player growing up than I was a football player.
Sure.
You grew up on a baseball field.
Yeah, well, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in foul territory with a baseball diamond, so that probably had a lot to do with that. But
Your high school career, all 3 sports, but you
Impressive.
excelled most of baseball.
yeah, I would say. I mean, that was the truth, and I had some really good mentors, and played with a lot of really talented players. I can't
Brad
say.
Miller.
Yeah. I mean, I could keep on going and going and going. I mean,
I love this. What he said. Same class as Brad Miller. You can see who had a better athletic career. I'm still working in athletics, and he is unemployed.
But I tell you what,
That's exactly right, man.
East Noble. See, back then, East Noble was a basketball school. It was
No
known,
question.
Wouldn't you agree?
Question. Oh,
'Cause
110%.
And baseball.
Yeah, and
Yes,
baseball,
yes,
and baseball.
yes.
Now
Not
football,
football, not
football. They were struggling at the time.
Yeah.
So we used to play East Noble once in a while in the playoffs, and East Noble had good guys that played on football. They just didn't have the success. But the basketball and baseball, you guys were known for that. And I remember the great Nick David. One of your buddies.
And Nick David. I mean, Brad Miller, Nick
Yeah.
David. Just a ton of
23 and
great
3.
guys. 23-3. Gabe Jones, his son, just played a few years ago. Tremendous amount of talent. We played in front of 4,000 people every night.
that place
it
was
was
bitch to play at.
I
hated playing.
It was
difficult.
an unbelievable experience in the 90s to be a part of the basketball program in that community, because it was the most important thing. I'm fairly certain that there was a lot of money lost and won between people in the Auburn and Kendallville communities in the factories based on the winner of those games. I mean, that was intense. That DeKalb East Noble game, and we had some amazing games. I think one of the coolest things done in athletics is when we squared off in, what it'd be, 92, 93, and played the Ryan Bond
The Southside.
Southside
And
game
it's funny
at
because
the old gym.
our paths crossed, man, because you know what? I played on that team. That was the 93 Southside team, Dave, and we went, I don't say we were 26-2. We lost the first game of the season to Huntington North. And I tell you what, we couldn't get a call down there, man. The Bulls couldn't win down in Huntington, but we scored a basket. We got a tip in to go up 2 with 2 seconds left. They inbound the ball. We get away. The kid launches it from the other end of the court Nothing but net. We lose by 1.
Oh, my.
Well, that's
And then
great.
we- and
He
then-
can complain about that, but what you need to also realize is we lost the Southside game by 1.
Yeah, and you know what happened?
Brad Miller had a
hung on the rim.
dunk,
Hung on the rim.
supposedly hung on the rim. They took away the
Yep.
basket.
Oh, wow.
Gave the technical, so they got to shoot the technical, and then I forget who the kid was, so they get the ball and they shoot a 3
Yep.
and hit it.
Yep, and that was yeah. He's absolutely right.
Did he
We
hang-
played,
did he,
so we
Joe?
played that night, and it's funny because now you'll appreciate this, Coach. Our best player was Ryan Bond, and I grew up with Ryan Bond. Ryan Bond was about 6'6".
Yep.
And this was the first game in the high school he was going to play somebody bigger than him. And we watched the tape, and I thought, wow, man, for a kid to be 6'10" or 6'11", Brad Miller moves pretty good, but he's got a really nice touch. And I told Bond, I said, man, our coach was always like, we're playing man-to-man no matter what. I said, man, you better push him off the block because I think he can just turn on you, and he's got a real nice touch. And you guys had really good guards. And so we come out, and I never forget it, before the game, Bond's taking a shower. I'm like, bro, are you that nervous? And the gym was packed. I said, bro, are you that nervous? And they were like, you guys had 1 loss and we had 1 loss. It was like 2 against 5 in the state.
Yeah.
And the place was packed. And the game was just tight back and forth. And it was pretty close. And they got a play, and it was right in front of me. And I didn't want to foul him because I knew he was going to dunk the ball. He dunked the ball. He did not hang on the rim. He dunked the ball, and they were going to go up maybe like 3 or 4 on us. And the game was just razor tight, and they were so good because Coach Johnson was such a great coach.
He's
and whenever we
amazing.
played East Noble, they never would make a mistake. And so he dunks the ball, and they called him hanging on the rim, which I thought was just a horrible call. We actually, if I remember right, I think that was
How did Southside not have a breakaway rim?
No
they
kidding.
did.
I mean,
I know they should.
they didn't.
We were on
They
the other
did.
end
That old
laughing.
Jim
I was
did.
actually on the other end laughing because we were like, that was a gift. And then we were able to get ahead 4. You guys hit a 3. We got 4, and they hit a 3 at the end of the game, and we won by 1. And you'll appreciate this, Coach. We went in the locker room, looked at each other, and we're like,
Thank God.
we didn't deserve that. I mean, I don't think we were the better team. Bond, I think, maybe scored 2 or 3 points that night.
That's it?
Brad Miller. I love Ryan Bond. That's my guy. But Brad Miller was all that and a bag of chips. I mean, we had never played a kid that big, and you can speak to this, Coach, who had that kind of touch. And he was only a junior, and he hadn't developed his strength yet. So we were like, I remember after the game, we were like, wow, man, did you see when he drop stepped and turned, how soft his touch was? I mean, we were like, ooh and on. And we actually enjoyed playing the game because the guys were great. There wasn't like a lot of like when we played games, there was always a lot of talking. There wasn't a lot of talking. It was just mutual respect. And then what was interesting was you guys lost to South Bend St. Joe's in the regional final, and that was the team that put us out in semi-state. But
Chris Quinn and Pete
yeah,
Schmidt.
Chris Quinn, and we got beaten semi-state. But that was a great night of high school basketball, man.
What was
No
it
question.
Like, what was it like playing with Miller?
So here's the thing.
Now explain what happened the next year.
I was this tall when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
So my freshman year, I played JV and some varsity, and Brad played freshman because Brad was like 6 foot.
Yeah.
Lake Grove.
Then sophomore year, Brad played JV, was like 6'2".
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Brad was a 2 guard. Brad
why
won.
he had-
You know,
that's why
they
he
used to
had to
have.
touch.
They used to have the Knights.
That's why he had to
Beautiful touch for a kid.
Well,
that
they
big.
used to have the Knights of Columbus, free throw shooting contest. He won it like every year.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's like 6'3", and then by the end of the season, our sophomore year, he's like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah. Here we
And
go.
then come into our junior year, he didn't start the first half of the season.
I remember that because we were scouting you guys.
He
and we were
came
like,
in, yeah.
Where's
We're
Miller?
like, where is this kid? And then all of a sudden, man, it was like, I can't remember because the coach said he was only about 6'3" the year before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, man, he's like, and then when we got out there that night, it felt like he grew another inch or two. I mean,
It was unbelievable. His development
was
that summer,
exceptional.
That summer, and then and throughout the season was just unbelievable. I mean, I can remember we're sitting in practice and we had a half court scrimmage, and all of a sudden he just goes up and rebound dunks, and we're like, what?
Yeah, what happened?
What just happened? So Brad was an awesome teammate and an awesome person. And
Yeah.
it was
nothing but good
tough.
things
It was
about
tough
him.
that he wasn't with us his senior year because Coach Katie wanted to go to prep school. I I really believe we would have won a state championship. We won 16 games without him.
Dude, that had to be so tough for you guys.
It was.
Because,
It was.
I mean,
Did you guys have any talks with him? Like, come on, man, stay.
Nah, you know what? I was in the middle of football. I didn't even know what was going on.
Oh,
Yeah.
All I knew is that like 3 people weren't at practice because they skipped football practice to go take him to the airport. Like this all happened
It was quick. wasn't
really
it?
quick.
I remember it was quick.
Yeah. And I didn't even know it happened until it was over.
It's a shame.
And it was terrible. So yeah, we get to play in the Hall of Fame Classic, and I'm playing center, and I'm just instead of Brad Miller, it's a huge disappointment. I'm sure
that's
for a lot
why
of people.
you wrote that and played without. Unfortunately, without. Miller.
Yeah. So that was, but that was a cool experience too. Having the experience of going down and playing in Chrysler Arena in Newcastle and doing that. But yeah, I mean, but it was cool.
Are you guys all still in
experience.
contact?
In my job, I'm lucky if I can stay in contact with my family.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I
To
know.
be completely honest, as far as between my job and chasing around my kids,
You're busy. Yeah.
it's
Last week
pretty
you said
crazy.
you was really busy because you took in, was it 3 D1 players or 2 D1 players?
We were able to secure some transfers from the portal.
Yeah, you're busy all the time, man. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. I want to hear a little bit more about the baseball of East Noble because he was a really decorated
And
baseball
summer
player.
baseball, wasn't
And
it?
summer baseball. And then we're going to go on down to Hanover. And I want to hear why you chose Hanover and not that D1 baseball scholarship. So
Yeah.
I tell you what, we got the great Coach Abs on tonight on the 260. So coming up next, finishing up at East Noble, and then on to Hanover on the 260.
Hanover Panthers.
Yes, we are the 260, and this is episode number 17. And number 17 equals the great Coach Abs. And, Coach, we were just finishing up with the high school. A lot of success playing baseball, and it felt like that baseball success combined with your success with football. You played both sports then on down to Hanover. So talk a little bit about finishing up with all the success baseball at East Noble, and then that kind of drove you and gave the momentum down to the great school Hanover.
Yeah, we had a phenomenal baseball team at East Noble when I was there in the early '90s. A lot of talent. I played with 9 guys that actually played college baseball. Tons of them played around here.
Yeah.
The best one was Chad Jordan. Chad Jordan was about 6'3", 225 pounds, and the home run fence at East Noble was batting practice. It was unbelievable. And he's a guy though that didn't get a lot of press, and actually played in the NABF All-Star team in the Super Series that they used to have between all the different leagues. But he was phenomenal. Wasn't highly recruited. Back then, before technology, you're in Kendallville, you were pretty hidden.
You were hidden.
You weren't gonna
Unless you're Jay Great.
Unless you're throwing 95 miles an hour. You're
he
in
was
sports,
pretty good.
unless you're in Sports Illustrated, right? And that's one of the guys I got to look up to as a kid. Him, Ben Van Ryan. Talking baseball as far as great guys to look up to, talented guys to look up to and to learn from. It was pretty cool.
Weren't you influenced by the Webbers too?
Yeah, Jim Weber was my AU basketball coach.
Basketball. Okay.
And
Brad,
when I was in Brad, and I was on a team with BJ and Brian Coretta.
Oh yeah, the Corettas, man.
And Brad Weber. Brad was a phenomenal basketball player. He didn't play in high school, but he could have. He could do anything. Baseball, football.
Dave, he was a fantastic high school quarterback.
One of the best.
Maybe one of the best ever played for DeKalb. Would you say, Coach?
Sassanello is pretty good too.
Oh, yeah, he was,
and his brother Eric, who's a lawyer in Auburn, was a very good football player too. But man, you talk about coaches that affect you and that really set the stage for the type of athlete you want to be and the type of coach you want to be. Their dad was a phenomenal, intense, demanding guy that I think the world of looking back.
Yeah.
But like baseball wise, played a bunch of great players. We won 3 sectionals in the 4 years I was in high school. The only year we didn't win. The only year I didn't win, wasn't part of a sectional championship team, was our senior year. Unfortunately, it was the first year we were moved from the DeKalb sectional to the Lakeland sectional, and Lakeland was opposite us in the bracket, and they drew Howe Military, who forfeited.
Oh, yeah.
So
great.
we had to play 2 games to get to the championship, and they had this tall 6'5" lefty named Rudy Bowles that could sling it.
Yeah.
He could sling it. That we had to face, and we ended up, I think, getting beat 4-2, something like that. But it kind of stunk because we had to use the bulk of our good pitchers
getting that
to
game.
get there. And so that was kind of disheartening. It was always fun going to the regionals from there to South Bend, but we didn't really get that opportunity.
And then
summer baseball.
Summer baseball was where I learned the game.
Yep.
I was able to play for the legendary Colin Lister.
Yep.
Colin, how does an Australian guy end up owning the Comets and having one of the best summer baseball programs in the country? In the country, no doubt about it.
They beat Midland Oil.
We did.
Wow.
It was not Midland Oil. It was Midland Insurance.
Before it was Midland Oil.
Yeah, it was Papa Joe Hayden, who's legendary in Cincinnati. During George Graff was his head coach, and then they changed a few years later, and this is before Midland was a sold-out brand, because now there's Midland teams all over. But it was the Midland Redskins, and they had top-notch talent. That's where Griffey played. That's where Barry Larkin played. You keep on going. You go to their website. It's absolutely unbelievable how many big leaguers play. But we were, Ealing, Danny from Norwell threw a gem against them when I was 18, and we beat them, and it was unbelievable. It was I've never seen Colin so happy. And
one of your friends, Brad Brown, was saying that you also beat the Indiana Bulls.
Yeah, we did.
Season.
We did. We beat the Bulls that season.
And they had Scott Rowland.
But Scott Rowland, I was catching Kadish Evans. Kadish was one of the best pitchers in this area, left-handed pitchers in this area in the 90s. He played at, was from DeKalb and then pitched at USI. I was catching him. We were playing at Indiana State. And Scott Rowland hit a ball that probably only went about 60 feet high out of Indiana State.
Wow.
It was
Really?
it was unbelievable. We did beat them, and then came back the next day and got beat by their B team. But you know, but I mean, it was just a phenomenal. But like the
names,
group
man.
of guys that I played on the docks with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I'm going to go through them because they're
Yeah.
just freakish guys. You know, Jason Ealing, I told you, from Norwell,
Yes.
who went on to play basketball in Manchester for Steve Alford. Brian Tayo from Northfield, who went on to Central Michigan. Eric Kipling from East Noble, who went to Central Michigan. Andy Spizak from Snyder. Darren Swanson, Brad Brown, Todd Ellinger.
Baller.
Yeah, Todd was we used to call him Ooge.
Ooge?
There's no need for the H. He was just Ooge. All right. that was a Colin Lister nickname. Colin had interesting nicknames for everybody. Brad Brown. I already said Brad. Mutt Harris, Damian Harris from Eastside, who's now a surgeon in Indianapolis.
Wow.
You got Sean Koslick from Leo, Matt Erpelding from Snyder, Andy Belier from Leo,
Tough kid.
Matt Yoder from Dwenger, Kevin Irons from Carroll, Kirby Miller from East Noble, Brad Weber, Josh Barnett, and Kadish Evans from DeKalb. And you know, someday, maybe if I ever get to step into my 18-year-old body again, I just want to play a doubleheader with those guys. just awesome guys. And Brad was so talented. It's so much fun to play with. If there was, you know, sometimes a summer game, there's just not as much emotion. He would make sure there always was. Yeah. So we would stand out there, and if it'd get quiet, he'd go, "Hey, batter." You know, that was Brad's way of saying, but that's the type of leader he was. You know, that was him saying, you know, any big time lawyer in Decatur now, but that was his way of saying, "Hey guys, you need to wake up a little bit and play. This is we're playing baseball."
Sure.
My favorite memory from outside of beating Midland, who is without a doubt, you know, them in East Cobb. You talk about summer baseball program. That you know, the guys that play for them are getting drafted, or they're already been drafted and they're in a holding tank for a month before they come to terms. But aside from that, I mean, just a phenomenal experience playing with those guys, and then
What brought behind to play?
Kevin was the third baseman.
Sorry, I said
he could absolutely swing it.
Yep.
Became a first baseman in college.
Yeah.
But and his son, so I got to be careful who I mention and everything because of, you know, my job. But he's got a really good son coming up at Carroll.
Yeah.
But just a great group of guys, man.
I know you love the baseball. I saw a picture of your son on Twitter.
Yeah.
Now I see.
And you know what, man? It was great, man. I was like, man, is that Troy? Or is that
I was.
I mean, it was like a flashback, wasn't it, man?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I wasn't as big as he is. Like I weighed. I mean, and he can vouch for me. Okay, I weighed about I weighed about 215.
Yeah, he wasn't playing weight back then.
But my son, like, I mean, he's a large human.
You know, I think get back to the baseball. I think it's sad though that Connie Mack League is nowhere.
It was a special thing.
It was.
Baseball has become, in my opinion, baseball has become too expensive.
Oh,
We call it country club.
Yeah,
It's become a country club
That's a
sport.
great
Unfortunately,
take. That's why I love the show, Dave.
I mean,
here's Coach Abs.
You're talking $5,000 a year.
He just told you what's wrong with the. That's a great take, man.
because
I mean, we used to, you know, you used to be able to play if you weren't a travel team. You scheduled your games on Saturdays.
Yeah.
18U had Saturdays. Stan Musial Crumback League had Sundays. And then we went every other day during the week. So you didn't have to be on this travel team and travel all over the place in order to be seen. And to be honest with you, when we had our city tournament, there would be 15 scouts.
they were there.
I mean, there were pro scouts, there were high school, there were college scouts. You name it.
Interesting, huh?
I mean, Coach Windmiller and I, Brett Windmiller and I at Carroll, kept that league going as long as we could.
Sure.
Well,
And it just got to the point.
Together.
Yeah. Brown helped me with the Docks, and I coached the Docks after I got done playing in college for 6 years, and Brown helped me, and Windmiller and I were the groundskeepers and kind of ran the league because there was a league at that time. I mean, you played 28 games in town, and then a league tournament, and then based on your league tournament, you would go and play in a regional tournament, whether it's NABF or WABC. Whoever finished the highest got to choose where they went. And we would sit up there, and there would be these travel tournaments in town, and everybody would end up watching the Fort Wayne kids. It just got to the point where everybody felt like, and there still is, but everybody feels like they have to leave town to get noticed, and I don't know that that's always the case. Now, if you go in, like for example, my son's team, we spent last weekend in Cincinnati. I think that's smart.
Yeah,
you're going to be seen by some different people, just like when we would go down to play Midland. That's how I got my Division I offer. I got offered in the summer by Xavier. Well, it ends up Xavier's at that time was about $5,000 more expensive with a baseball scholarship than Hanover was.
Right. Is that why you chose Hanover, Coach?
Yeah, and I had already committed. And I felt good about it.
Great school.
I felt good about it. I felt good about the weather in Madison/Hanover, Indiana is very different than the weather here in March and February. The snow doesn't stick around in February. It's we could get outside. We were outside the first day NCAA
Coach,
allowed us
this is
to
my
practice.
first year of not seeing my kid play, and it's been a great year. He's been, between two boys, damn near 15 years of doing baseball.
Yeah. It's got to be an adjustment though.
Now they're starting in February.
Oh yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah, it's cold.
You don't get warm until the last game of the season.
Well, and that's why all those North teams head south for the weekend.
Yeah, we never went anywhere. We just stayed at home, and people played us on the way.
I remember
people played us on the way.
We go down to Hanover. Yep.
How did you juggle the football and baseball at Hanover, and you did so well academically? Was it just the time management from your mom and dad, or how did you juggle that in college to play two sports?
Well, first of all, my mom and dad were helping me with college. I don't want to let them down. My motivation is I don't want to let anybody down, and that's one of the things that I try to get through to our players is that
accountability.
Listen, people are fitting a bill for you. People are helping you do this. Maybe not all of it, but part of it.
Sure.
You can't let them down. Like, let's go. Step it up academically. But how was I able to do it? Honestly, I think part of it was the head baseball coach was the athletic director, and the football coaches were afraid to say anything.
The legendary Coach. Dick Naylor, baby.
Coach Dick Naylor. As you want to talk about a recruiter.
Oh yeah.
My mom was sold. I mean, he's Southern.
I
want you to picture a Louisville Southern gentleman.
Yeah.
As far as how he treated my mom and all the, we actually went down there for, I forget, I got invited down there by Tony Lovato, who was a scout for Kansas City. And I think that was his name. Is that his name?
That sounds correct.
Yes. And so I'm like, if they say you want to go, you got to go. Shoot, I went to the Pittsburgh Pirates scout thing at DeKalb High School. Hell, I got done running, and I was done for the day. I'm going to this. I might actually be able to hit.
And you got to tell the Sparky Anderson story.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But so it was. I went down there, and Coach Naylor met my wife, and then all of a sudden there's 4 football coaches there, and I had a good tryout, and they had a guy there that was an alum, big-time recruiter named Les Fox. And there's all the hospitality rooms are the Les Fox hospitality rooms. And he called every other day. Even if he knew we weren't there and he was just going to leave a message, he would call at least every other day. The football coaches would call. Coach Naylor would call, handwritten letters, and it's beautiful down there. It's very. I'm at a just as beautiful place in Trine, but it's a beautiful place down there.
Beautiful. I was there Sunday.
And then, but as far as let's see, we've been in the fall of 1993. Football practice had just started. I got a telephone call, and it's a scout from the Tigers. It's like, hey, we would like you to come and to our invite-only tryout day in Tiger Stadium.
And
so
what was that like, man?
Well, I hung up on him because I thought it was somebody just playing a prank.
I can see Brownie doing that.
Oh no! I mean, we did that to
prank.
each other all the time. I mean, what's the best prank ever? You're with your group of guys, and you're at a restaurant, and you get the waitress to come ask one of the guys for an autograph, and like pretend like they know who they are, right? So and then the guy calls back, and it was actually the owner's son.
Oh my gosh. Illich?
What's that?
Illich at the time, or is that that's probably somebody before him?
No.
Wow.
It was, I forget but there's the Little Caesars people.
Yeah, it's Illich.
Yeah,
Illich,
it was one of his sons. I had a good tournament in Battle Creek, and he was there. So he was like, hey, come check this out. And taking batting practice. I didn't know how to hit balls where. I just went up and grabbed the bat and hit. And during the batting, and they're throwing you 4 inches inside to see if your hands are good enough to basically foul it off the turtle. I mean, they want to see that you got hand speed. And so finally, I'm like, I'm in there, and most of the guys got like 10 cuts. I'm in there for like 20 cuts. And Sparky Anderson was there for batting practice, and I'll clean it up. Yeah. But Sparky hit the ball in the air, and it was, put a few colorful words in there. I didn't know how. Now I know. Hey, finish at your ear. It's going to go higher. This or whatever. But it was a pretty cool experience.
Wow, Sparky Anderson.
Pretty cool experience.
I want to go. Brownie told me a story about you guys in Fort Wayne Docks. Do you remember the hotel story?
Oh gosh, which one?
Where you emptied it?
What's that?
Where you emptied the hotel?
Oh, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. That was. We're not even gonna. There might have been a bottle rocket war inside a hotel in Terre Haute, Indiana, and two of the people I named were very guilty, and we won't go into too much more of it. But there were bottle rockets shot at people in the parking lot, and then somebody thought it'd be a good idea. Brownie and I were always roommates. Somebody thought it'd be a good idea to put one underneath our door. And then all of a sudden, fire alarms are going off.
Oh, man. Uh-oh.
They come up, get out of here. Brown puts a pizza box over the top of the burn mark in the carpet.
Beautiful.
So,
Brownie.
I'll tell you what, man, brother for life. I mean, just an awesome guy. It's so cool to see him giving back to the Bishop Dwenger community. And Todd as well, Todd Ellinger as well. It's so weird, though, to see Ellinger's dad wearing Bishop Dwenger apparel because he went everywhere with the Snyder S hat for 25 years plus. You know what I mean?
It's still kind of strange to see Todd in that gear, too. Now, Coach, I think you could be successful in about any field with your personality and everything, but why coaching? What was that moment that you felt like, you know what, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to pursue?
Yeah, the plan was to go to law school. My aunt's a lawyer, my uncle's a lawyer, and I came home the summer before my junior year in high school, and talking about instructional baseball.
Sure.
They were between head baseball coaches. So Fred Iniger approached Matt Sollenberger. Matt Sollenberger, left-handed pitcher that I played with in high school, pitched at Manchester, and then was in the Mets organization for, I think, 4 or 5 years. He approached.
Was loaded, obviously.
We had dudes, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man, great names.
But Coach Iniger approached us about coaching the instructional league team. And so this is my first, try in coaching, and I fell in love with it. And I had majored in education with the intent of getting into educational law. That's what my aunt did. Sure. She did very well negotiating, arbitrating teachers' contracts with between unions and administrations, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I decided I want to coach. I want to try this coaching thing out for a little bit. And started out coaching in Northwest Allen, coaching baseball, basketball, middle school basketball. Was the first basketball coach in Maple Creek. Wasn't very good. Wasn't very good at that. My voice is too loud for a gym.
And you coached Amstutz. Coach Amstutz,
Yeah,
Reese
yeah,
Noble, man.
Luke-
How cool is that, man?
Luke
Luke is Luke is one of our better high school coaches, man. But how cool is that, man?
He's
that-
phenomenal. He's
I mean,
phenomenal.
the coaching
and,
tree, the guys that you kind of like touched.
he's a really good friend.
Yeah, he's a great
and
coach,
we
man.
talk a lot of ball. And
Oh, he's fantastic.
he was he was tough.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's, to be a great coach, you've got to have that. You've got to let things just, bounce off of you and move on. And he's just tremendous, and I'm proud to call him a friend.
And so you continue on with your coaching. Talk to us about the relationship and all the fun over at Lakeoffs.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
And Dave's looking at me, and Dave's like, Joe, we got to get to Lakeoffs and Coach Land. I love Matt Land.
By the way,
I had some fun with Coach Land before, too.
Thanks to Lakeoffs for your Super Bowl.
That's right. Exactly. Lakeoffs is just fantastic. But talk about the great environment over there. Guys getting together, talking ball.
It was awesome. I mean, number one, you got to hang out with staff, right?
He was there.
His home.
He was there.
So no, I mean,
Talk about that.
So my wife and I started dating shortly after I moved back to town.
Sure.
And her roommate was waitress at Lakeoffs.
Yeah.
So we went and hung out there.
Yeah.
And Jimmy had just bought it.
Yeah.
And he hired his beautiful sisters and a lot of other just good people.
Yeah, great people.
And so, that we're pretty. And because of that, I think about every young coach in Fort Wayne
hung out at
Lakeoffs.
Yeah,
more nights than they probably would have.
Yeah, and Coach Land was coaching over at South at the time. Dave.
Coach Land was actually at Northrop as the offensive coordinator with Coach Stinson when I first met him.
Matt's in 99. That's when Northrop got to the semi. Matt was a great coach too. Stinson was a great coach, Matt Stinson. I love Matt, but
yeah. So I became really good friends with Matt and Ryan Hall and a lot of those guys.
Great guys.
And our friendship kind of blossomed. They come coach with us. But I had a great teaching and coaching situation in Northwest Allen, and so I never really left. And then Matt got the Freedom job.
Yes.
He was like, "Hey, come coach for me." What do you want me to coach? Offensive and defensive line. I don't know anything about offensive line. I was a linebacker. In high school, I played quarterback and tight end. I don't know anything about offensive line. So I passed on it the first time. And then the second time, he's like, "Hey, why don't you come coach the defensive line?"
There we go. Ding, ding, ding.
So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And had an amazing time coaching those guys.
Games. People don't realize how much fun and how much talent and exciting those games were.
It was fun. There was a lot of talent. It was exciting. We played too deep into the summer.
Yeah.
And because of that, it wasn't. And the Coliseum's probably too big. For it. The lease agreement. I mean, same thing. Probably running into a little bit with the Man Ants, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sure.
But it was fun. I learned a lot. Learned a lot about people. Learned a lot about owners of semi-professional or professional turns semi-professional teams. If you ever coach arena football in a small-time arena football, if you get a third of the money that you sign up for, you're probably
hurry up. Who can get to the bank first to cash that payroll check?
That happened.
Wow, that happened, huh?
They're on their cars.
That happened. We sat in a bus at the Coliseum, and until everybody got their per diem, we weren't leaving.
Wow,
this is towards the end of it. We were playing in the championship game in Chicago.
Wow,
and this was the year, Did
you guys play with Deuce Taylor or Antoine Taylor?
So I was never part of it when Antoine was part of it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I was when Bill Skelton was our
Bill
quarterback
Skelton, and all that.
And played in the championship game, and we're literally sitting in the parking lot. People are waiting on their per diem. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Unbelievable. So you have the relationship with Matt Land. Now take us. How do you get to Trine? And then 42 and 16 over 6 seasons.
And 16.
And I believe in 17 and 18, you guys were undefeated in the regular season. So much success at Trine. I love the Trine program, Dave. I think the facilities are awesome.
Number
And-
one,
and-
what Matt Land has done up at that school is
all
amazing.
of them. I mean, and what I love about it is, like Matt told me when I went up to one of the games this fall, he says, you got to understand, 90% of our kids have a job within 6 months of graduation.
Yeah.
But the facilities, the people up there.
The golf course. I love that golf course.
And we've got Ryan Preston, who works on the podcast this summer playing basketball up at Trine. Shouts out to Ryan, and that gymnasium, that gym is unbelievable. But
Hockey.
take us how you got to Trine, and kind of begin to tell us about the success and the great teams and the kids you've impacted up there.
Well, Matt offered me an opportunity to be on his staff at Northrop and then Southside, and then when I finally hooked up with Freedom, and then turned into. He called me right before spring ball started in 2006. I had worked for Mike Chevron at Carroll. He had just been let go. Things were kind of up in the air, and Matt called me. He's like, "Hey, we got to get you. I want you to come up. I want you to coach defense." And that's kind of how it started. But that was a tough spring. My wife had just gotten me to agree to focus on coaching one sport, and I chose football. What she didn't realize.
Why football, Coach?
A lot of different reasons, but number one, I think coaches have the ability to influence more people, and to also have a larger influence on the game, the outcome of a game, than any other sport.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Dave. That's a great
game.
point, because you know what? Man, if the kids play hard for you, you can make those in-game adjustments.
Yep.
There's so much you can do in football. You can make a difference,
Yeah, and
in baseball, you're waiting on talent.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're waiting on talent.
There's a lot to that, and you can in developing talent. There's a lot in developing talent, but that's part of football as well. But just the X and O portion of it, in baseball, the X. In baseball, I mean, you have a philosophy, right, and then the game comes to you, and you react to the game in that way. In football, every once in a while, if you study enough film and you break down enough tendencies, you can dial up a blitz that can stop somebody that's better than you.
Yeah. Scheme.
Exactly. Yeah. And now I'm really a technique over scheme guy, but at the end of the day, that's really what drew me to football more than anything else. And to be honest with you, I mean, make a living coaching football. So,
yeah, that's right.
So that's kind of why I went that way. And so Matt had me come up, and I was his defensive coordinator for 9 years, and this will be my 9th year as the head coach. It's gone fast. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, it's about recruiting. It's about talent development, and it's about making the game fun for the guys.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Do you like the porthole?
What's that?
Do you like the porthole?
No. It's
changed
too
everything,
many young men get advice from the wrong place.
Bingo.
Being
Probably
a
been saying
freshman,
it for years.
being a freshman, I don't think I think if you commit somewhere as a freshman, unless you have a family dynamic that's changed, you should be stuck there for a year.
I agree. Yeah.
Because
Totally agree.
it doesn't matter.
That's a great point. Guys jump so much now.
Well, what you get, you have young men who have been a senior in their high school program. They're good enough to get recruited to play in college. It doesn't matter what level, and they don't remember what it's like to be a freshman.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden they're on a team who doesn't have a freshman team.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there and they're waiting for the first time.
Yeah, wanting to play.
But the experts at home are telling them that the whole world should still revolve around them.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, I'm pretty sure that 18-year-old didn't look like that when they were 14. And they're not going to look like that when they're 22. So that's one of the things that's really difficult about the portal. Do I think everybody gets in the portal for the wrong reasons? Some people get in the portal for the right reasons. I mean, it's a really complicated thing. But when you see young men jump in the portal a week, I think I counted like 500 kids got in the portal the week before the second semester started.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, okay, so
unbelievable.
when that happens, what's especially the Division I guys, what's that coach going to do? Their scholarship is gone.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
And there's a week until the school year starts. or until the semester starts. There isn't enough time to get you admitted and visit places. So
Great
what I
point.
tell kids is this: unless you know where you're going ahead of time, don't get in the portal.
Yeah.
If you know where you're going, great. You know, college coaches talk through high school coaches. They're not supposed to. The division, but that stuff goes on all the time.
Sure.
You show me the best football player in Northern Indiana every single year, and I will show you 3 kids from his high school that get to walk on all of a sudden at MAC schools.
Yeah.
Why is that? I have a direct line of communication with somebody if they're not happy at Notre Dame or they're not happy at Michigan or they're not happy at Ohio State. I have a direct line of communication with those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
changed so much. Hasn't
it's
it?
tough.
It's tough.
It's tough, and it's not really what's in the best interest
And you don't know
the young men.
You don't
all
know
the
who
time.
you have the trust in those players.
Well-
You might be talking to them and think you got good trust with them. In their mind, in their back of their mind, hey, I'm out of here.
Right.
I
And
talk
for
to
me,
a lot.
it doesn't affect our level. It really doesn't affect our level. And if
But
we
it
have kids that are high achievers, and coach, I'm getting a portal. Great. I want what's best for you. If somebody wants to pay for your school, give you a full ride, give you NIL money, great. I want that for you.
Yep.
I have no problem with that because, and I really think that that's how you've got to do business.
And
as a
that
coach.
is the key. You see the attitude?
Yep.
I love you. Go ahead, do it. That's the way you have to be, and that's the way I think you have to be with kids. And I tell you what,
Yeah.
you know I'm close with Austin Keys. He can't say enough good things about how you relate with kids to play. And when we sat down, I said, hey, this is a great place to play. You know, you have a coach that cares about the kids, that's going to be able to relate with you. You can speak with him, you know, dig in. Make that your school. It's a great school. Stay committed there and play all the years. You know, so it's foreign to me to see kids jump. I'm like, look, you made the right choice. Now, you've got to work hard and do the reps and wait your turn. You got to wait your turn.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a great education. You're playing for a great coach and a great school, and he loves it. I mean, so it's foreign for me. I think that's a great explanation for it.
Right.
And I'm just stunned the way guys just jump around.
They do.
And
it's
because any
ridiculous.
moment, coach can tell you, any moment there might be an injury or something might happen, or you know, that's really doing the reps and putting the faith in that you're going to get your shot.
Joe, to your point, I think it's Georgia. It's like linebacker you. And a lot of these guys, one guy didn't even play the whole season. And they're number 1 picks.
Yeah, the
It's
guy
like
from Georgia, he tore his pec muscle. He's a tremendous player.
4 guys in a row
Yeah.
did not play 2 years of Georgia football.
I think the only way I kind of could see it, because I was kind of in this situation, I got deep on the depth chart of Cincinnati. If you're a quarterback, once you kind of get locked out, man, you're kind of locked out, you know. But I think every other position, I think it's nuts. I think it's crazy. I would never jump from a school like Trine or a school like that to maybe go try to walk on at a D1
Right.
school, because you know what? I know how they treated walk-ons. You know what I mean? I'd rather be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, and I'd rather be able to be at a place where I know I can play. It's a great environment.
Well, when it
And
comes
I'm
down
gonna-
to it, man, you're hitting it right. You're hitting the nail on the head. There are really only 2 levels of college athletics. There's the highest level you can possibly play, and there's the happiest level you can possibly play.
Oh, that's a great line. That is
they
beautiful.
They might be the same
That's
thing.
beautiful.
But like, I
Yes.
got a brother played in the Big Ten, played at Indiana,
Yeah.
played football at Indiana.
And you know what?
He's 6'7", 315 pounds.
You know what?
You know what? He played 16 plays his senior year.
Yes, that is it. The highest level and the happiest level. I was
That's a great
I was a junior college All-American. And you know what I did at Cincinnati?
Clipboard.
What was that, Coach? Oh, that was the Pirates Suite. Okay, let me write that down. What you got next? You got trips left, backside pull. Okay.
Right.
It was the most miserable time of my life because you know what? I didn't play. I stood there and chara plays. Now, boy, did I get an education. I learned the game. But Coach is absolutely right. I think that's something that I hope people take that away from the show, Dave. I think
Happy level.
that's the highest level and the happiest level. That's the best I've ever heard describe it. But and also one other thing, Coach. Last fall on Twitter, you came out and laid it down with high school kids what it takes to play college football. You were talking about GPAs. When I come into school, this is what I expect. as we start to wrap up here, go back through that again, because I thought, man, that day when I think Jake Smith sent you a message, and you were just like, you were on fire. What you expect from high school kids. Look in the camera and send that message back out to those kids again. When Coach Abs comes to school, what's Coach Abs looking for?
Well, I think it's every single coach that goes to a school. Number one, the first question that any coach, regardless of sport, is going to ask is, what's their GPA?
Yes.
What's their GPA? If your GPA is a 4.0, you can get recruited by every school in the country.
Yep.
If your GPA is a
Academic
2.6, there aren't very many schools that can recruit you.
And
if it's
please-
below a 2.5, you can't play Division I football.
And please listen to this out there, what he's saying.
Because-
guys, please
Too
listen.
many people. I mean, there are tons of examples every single year in the Fort Wayne area.
Yeah.
Too many people that are phenomenal athletes do not get it done in the classroom, because a lot of and this is statewide, right? The requirements for eligibility, because not every student athlete is going to go on and play in college, is I've got to pass all my classes, or I can only have one F, or I can only have two Fs.
Sure.
You know, but that GPA doesn't equate to eligibility by NCAA standards. By NCAA standards, you have to have a 2.5 GPA, and it's a sliding scale based on test scores and everything else. But it's a 2.5 GPA. That means B's and C's. Just as many B's as C's. So too many guys lose out on that 4 or 5 more years experience of being a college athlete because they don't get it done academically. And see it all the time. And it's frustrating sometimes as a recruiter. You walk in, you just watch this young man have a great game, and they're not eligible. They're not, and it's frustrating.
And it's over.
But I tell people all the time, I mean, get good grades, be on time, be in class, look a coach in the eye, have a firm handshake, and listen to everybody that shows up, because you never know. You never know where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, offers in today's day and age mean absolutely zero, nothing. An offer basically means, hey, man, I think I want to talk.
Yeah.
You know? And then a committable offer means, hey, we seriously want you. But then even that can be pulled at any time until signing day. It's ugly, and it happens all the time.
See, that's what happened with Kamari Juarez over at Snyder. It was a dance with Eastern Michigan. And it's a shame.
And
we're going to offer it's coming. Yeah. It was just a dance. And you're just stringing a kid on. And that was hard to watch
Well,
this year.
and okay, so on their end, and you know, we don't have limitations, and we don't have scholarships
That could have
for
happened to
athletics.
C.J. Davis, by the way. He got close on that.
But I mean, the bottom line is, you know, well, if the kid that was being recruited by Michigan State is all of a sudden available,
It's dominoes.
if I don't take him, now he's going to beat me at Western. Right? He's going to go to Western Michigan. He's going to beat.
pressure. It's so much pressure.
It's an imperfect system. I wish that there could be an earlier signing period, get it all out of the way, because there are so many unrealistic expectations and you know, kids with aspirations really higher than their ability levels.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that's the case. There's so much emphasis on
And the
being
parents.
D1, being D1. I want to be D1. I want to be D1. You know, like, I'll take my son for example. They're like, oh my gosh, he's huge. He's tiny. In the grand scheme of things, he's 6'4".
Yeah.
Okay? But at Michigan camp last week, he got to learn that he's not very big.
Yeah.
You know,
Guys are massive these days.
they're gigantic. You know, and through experiences that, you know, like when he was younger, I took him to an Indiana practice, to one of their bull practices when he was in middle school. He's like, Dad, their corners are as tall as you are.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But the bottom line, when kids are looking for colleges, you know, if I can provide one more piece of advice, the number one thing they've got to be able to do, they got to be able to live there. You got to be able to live wherever you go. If they can give you a full ride. If you can't live there, you're going to leave.
Yeah.
Right. Second, they've got to have what you want to study. Right. Third, it's got to be a good program. You know, what's their job placement rate like?
Yeah.
You know, well, yeah, okay, yeah, you can go get this degree for free at this place that you love, but the average salary for that is $25,000 a year. Yeah, it's probably not worth a degree. All right. So then after that, what's the cost? And
How long is it going to take?
then
to pay it
athletics. And then athletics. And I tell kids all the time, the goal is to have a car payment, not a house payment.
That was the biggest mistake I made when I chose and went to Cincinnati. I was so focused on playing D1 ball. And I got to Cincinnati, and you'll love this, Sonar. I'm walking around the campus. I had studied accounting since high school. And when I went to junior college, they actually gave me a test in junior college for math, and I tested the highest of any kid that ever played in junior college. The coach pulled me aside. He said, "We have a problem." "Well, what's that?" He says, "Your test score is a math. You're not supposed to be here." I said, "Just get here for a year and bounce up someplace." I was so focused on the D1, I didn't play. But Coach makes a great point. When I got to Cincinnati, I was in the business school, and I'm walking around the school, and I don't see any of the guys I played football with. And so I go to practice. I'm like, "Man, you guys going to class? What are you guys doing?" "Yeah, we're all going to class." I'm like, "Where are you going to class at?" I didn't realize that Cincinnati, within the university, had like a college. And these guys were going like within like a college within the university because they had not qualified for the actual like university. So I was going to the university in the business department studying accounting, Sonar, and all the guys I played with were like within this other like school of Cincinnati. And Coach is absolutely right. Looking back, those guys were never going to get a degree in the business department or the arts or whatever there. And Coach is so right about the education.
Well,
and I think a lot of kids you get so blinders on that you want to be here and you don't realize. And then ultimately when I got done playing, you know what I did? I finished up my last semester or so at the IU School of Business because you know what? Cincinnati had nothing on the IU School of Business. So I actually got my degree from the IU School of Business because that made so much more sense on studying the accounting. And that's what I think he makes a great point with that.
Yeah.
With academically, how does this fit? But where do you want to be 5 or 10 years?
Well, and the worst thing you see is watching a football game and the kid's a senior and they throw up the major. It's general studies.
General studies.
And you know what's funny is?
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
It
But you know what's funny? You notice you don't see a lot of the talk about the majors anymore when you watch the big games? You don't see it, man.
Yeah.
I remember I used to love it because I'm like, man, where's he from? This kid's from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He's he's an accounting major or something. You don't see any of the majors anymore. You really don't even see a lot like where guys are from. But Coach makes a great point, and to kind of finish up, Coach, before we get to this 3-minute round. We have a 3-minute round that Sonar's beautiful wife Crystal came up with. When you're coaching Trine, what's that moment, or what is it that just gets that blood rocking, man? Is it game day, or is it when you reach a kid, or you're excited about recruiting a kid, or do you see that kid get that degree, or when that kid comes back and here he's an engineer in a major firm? What is that moment? I mean, 9 years at Trine, Coach. It's hard to believe. What's that?
Yeah, as a head coach.
18
overall.
Yeah, but what's that moment, man, for Coach Abs that you're just like, you slap your chest, you kind of tell yourself, yeah, man, this is why I do it.
When you go and you recruit a kid from a small town, inner city area,
Yeah.
and you find out that they got the job with Rolls-Royce.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That's what I'm talking about,
You
baby.
find out that
Yes.
the kid from Sturgis, Michigan, calls you and says, "See my truck, Coach?" That was also an all-conference player. You see my truck?
Yeah, baby.
You see my truck, Coach?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Are you here? Like, are you not in Detroit right now?" Because he's working for GM. He's
Yeah.
like, no, Coach. You see my truck? And he's a smart aleck. And he's an engineering guy. He's a little different. I love him, but and he's like, "No, you see my truck?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Are you here? Come on, dude. This is enough." And it's like, "What do you think of the way the new front end of the Silverados look, Coach?" That's my truck.
Wow.
Like,
Man, oh man, that's what I'm talking
I
about.
made
that's
that.
pretty awesome.
I made that.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is, man.
Now the championships, the win. There's nothing like winning college football.
Of course.
I mean,
And you had
it
a lot
is
of
a completely different I've been part of wins and losses in every sport and almost every level. I mean, middle school, high school, college, little league. There's nothing like the feeling of winning a college football game. It's just it's fun. It's fun, and it's just the joy in everybody's eyes and
All
faces
facets have to come together.
Yeah, and the amount of work that it takes. It is hard to win at college football because everybody else is working so hard to do the same.
Yeah,
thing.
the same.
Yeah.
I mean, and
So true.
90% of the schools that are on our schedule, they want to be good too. You know, we play in the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association. It's one of the most competitive leagues in the
Ooh, it's
country.
great ball. I've seen a lot of that ball last
And,
year, Dave. Good ball.
You know, you put it. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you lay our league right beside most NAI leagues. It looks pretty. The product on the field looks pretty similar. The size, the speed, the talent, because there's so much talent to go around.
So much.
And so it's fun when you win a rivalry trophy and you're able to hand that thing to your team. But really the main thing is seeing guys come back and successful and hearing their stories and how they're happy and that they're glad they came to try, and that one of your alums, one of the guys that you recruited, makes a big donation to the university, and they say, well, you're the one that got me recruited and helped me get this job. And I just those are neat things. Now, it's a struggle, man. I mean, there are a lot of ups and downs in college football when it comes to. I mean, you named a lot of the different aspects. There's fundraising, there's recruiting, there's on the field stuff. There's a game. There's a game within the game.
So much to manage.
Trying to keep somebody in school.
That's what.
Sometimes everything could go wrong all day, but then you meet with somebody in your office and you get them from dropping out of school.
Yeah.
And then he's in corporate for waste management.
Wow.
Like 4 years down the road. And you knew he was going to quit college not very long. There's just those types of things that, that's the fun part of the job.
It's big victories. Again, you keep those guys, again, the struggle.
And you don't win them all.
No, you don't. But
and you don't always make the right decision, but the more times you do, the more little wins, then it also happen on the field too.
Yep. Now we have a rapid fire session, Coach. Dave, I'm going to let you start. So this is where we'll ask you just a couple of questions. We kind of have some fun with this. And Dave, you want to go ahead and start?
I know your schedule's really, really busy, but are you anything on Netflix you watch?
Man, let's see. Not really. Pawn Stars. I think it's the last time I think I fell asleep to that one because I couldn't sleep. And I turned that on. I was asleep pretty quick.
You're so upbeat. That's what a lot of us in the 260 love about you. The energy with Coach Abs. When you mention Coach Abs, you talk about the energy. Where or when are you ever able to relax? Or do you ever have a moment where you can just like dial it down and relax? Or is that just not?
That's just not part of me.
No.
I mean, my wife and I were just talking about it like a couple days ago. And she was talking about my son's schedule as a 3-sport athlete at Carroll, which it's crazy, but I lived that. So I've always been that busy. And I'm used to that. I have a really tough time slowing down.
Is there a place or anything that you ever do?
I liked to golf for a while, but then my kids started playing travel baseball, and that turned into golf. you know what I mean? And then it turned into, coaching with great people, with Jeff Brinkman and Kenny Fisher. And,
great guys.
And then we changed teams a couple years ago and started working with Craker and O'Connor. And just awesome guys and just a great experience. But I tell you this right now, talking about 3-sport athletes, my son is so tired right now, he couldn't hit water if he thought of a boat.
It's a great kid, man. Great kid.
Browning told me today ran into his wife at the fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can't stop because now you got roped into umping at Wallen?
I only did one game. We'll just leave it at that.
When do you sleep?
They needed a guy. I volunteered. I'm not good. It's a no go.
That career's over.
Yeah, nah. They don't mesh.
No.
They don't mesh.
No, they don't.
I got an interesting question for you. This is compliments of Denise Claxton. Past present, who is that one person, can be anybody, that you'd love to have a cup of coffee with and maybe pick their brain or talk to? We've had great answers on the show. I mean, we've had all kinds of, Muhammad Ali. We've had Martin Luther King, Dave.
Jesus 3 times.
Jesus 3 times. We've had a lot of great answers, but who is that one person that Troy Abs, past or present, would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee with?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, obviously, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Of course.
Number one. But I like to list things in threes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd love to have, I didn't mention my grandparents on my dad's side, but I'd love to be able to have a cup of coffee with my grandpa who's been gone for a long time, and with my father, because I lost him back in 2004 at a young age. But just to kind of bounce some things off of them,
Sure.
and ask their opinion on what's going on in the world today. But I've just had.
They would be shocked.
Dave didn't hesitate.
Nope.
They'd be shocked.
They're rolling over in their
Yes,
graves
they
right
would.
now.
But I mean, I've been lucky. I've had a lot of great friends, had a lot of great neighbors, had a lot of great coworkers who are also great friends.
Yeah.
Had an amazing group of coaches growing up that I think really formed me into who I am today. Marty Johnson was an amazing coach.
Yeah.
He was
The presence about him, didn't he?
He was bored. I mean, he was Bob Knight. Like I mean, he was
Tough guy, but Dave.
He was tough, but he cared about you. And I remember. I mean, I remember at one point in time I was having a tough time with just, what I want to do with my life. I'm 18 and I'm in Kendallville, Indiana, and he invited me over to his house.
Really?
And I was at the point. I mean, I was upset with him, but then he invited me over to his house to spend like four hours just talking, and it was awesome. And that's the kind of guy he was. And my college football coach was just an amazing guy. C. Wayne Perry. He's a Hall of Famer. I was running through a brick wall for him. He didn't say a lot. He had a quote that he ended every practice with. Something I wish I always say I'm going to start doing it, and I start and I stink at it, But I always had a quote at the end of every practice. But then and then Coach Naylor, Dick Naylor, man, he was another tough guy now. But demanded things were done in the right way, that you dotted your I's, that you crossed your T's, and he kind of taught me how to live in a different world. Kendallville, Indiana, Hanover College, different places.
Big time.
And he made that transition. He was a kid from Brookville, which is Kendallville, just in southern Indiana.
Right.
So, it took some extra conditioning at times, but really, I'd say I definitely want to sit down with Coach Naylor one more time.
Great answer.
So
Great
you're-
answer.
Being from the 260 your whole life, what is your favorite restaurant in the 260? Now, obviously, you're Kendallville, so that encompasses a lot.
Yeah. I'm a Pine Valley Bar and Grill fan. I'll be honest
They
with
got
you.
the best nachos in town.
They got great nachos. They got a great grinder now.
Make their own salsa, own
Yeah,
chips.
it's really now. But that goes back to the old Juan days, right? But bottom line, like, if you're gonna get a sausage roll, you gotta go Lake House. You gotta go Lake House.
Shouts out, man. Last question. What was your greatest sports moment? That could be a moment for you or a moment coaching. But when you lay your head down at night, Coach, and I don't think you get much time. I don't think you get much of a chance ever to daydream with your schedule. But if you ever get a moment and you think about that, or you're riding down the road or something, what's that sports moment that you kind of cling and hold on to dear to your heart?
I think, man, that's tough. But honestly, there's nothing in sports. There's two feelings in sports that you can't duplicate really in real life. And once you're over 30, unless you're still in really good shape, hitting a home run, just that feeling, and blindsiding a quarterback, which will send you to jail, right? I think my first college sack that moment where I made the transition to defensive end, and I finally, because as defensive lineman, you watch a defensive lineman in football.
Oh,
they're going after the quarterback, going after
Yeah,
the quarterback,
the
going
abuse
after the
they
quarterback. I mean, there's some big guy taking 3 steps backwards, and you're sprinting everywhere, right? And then when you finally get there, and he runs forward, and your buddy gets the sack, and you're excited for him, but at the same time, you're like, what the heck is this? Yeah,
That was mine.
So that first sack against DePaul,
wow.
tackling Justin Weinrob, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Snyder guy.
Yep. Played for Snyder. He was the quarterback of the '92 state championship team for Snyder.
Yep. And then probably you remember the last one, right? So my last home run at Bellarmine College, second to last game of my college career.
Yeah.
Pretty cool deal, and beating UC 3 out of 3 times in college in baseball. Division 3 school beating a Division 1 school.
Man.
Beautiful, man. Love it.
Johnny Bench Field taking them to town.
It's an absolute joy to have you tonight. And you know what? Your father and grandfather would be proud of you.
Thanks, man.
You know that? Your dad, to rise all the way up through craft, looking down at you.
Pretty cool, man.
He'd be so proud of you, And
That's a great story in itself. Loading trucks to number 2.
And think about that. Think about the toughness, the discipline, showing up every day, the belief that I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. And man, what a man to look up to.
Yeah.
And you know what? He'd be so proud of you. And you know what? From all of us, the 260, thank you for what you do at Trine, too, because we've got so many of our kids, man. I'm excited about Josh Arntz going up there.
Yeah.
Arntz is a great kid, a Whitley kid, but we've got so many great kids, man, that are playing up there, Dave, and I love to go up there and watch the Trine games, man. I mean, I got to be careful on that tailgating, Brunk. Drink too many pops.
You
but
gotta
you know
have
what?
those.
But it's just such a great environment.
I hear that's an issue. Yeah, that's not with you, but with a lot of people. Tailgating's definitely
the
100%
tailgating's
on.
off the hook up there. But you know what, though? Thank you for everything that you do. And you know what? Troy Abs, Dave. Another name from the 260, spoken with pride, brother.
Very appreciative.
Yeah,
Hey, we're
thank you.
good because we've got 260 culture. We're
We
full
do.
of hardworking people
We do.
that come to work every day
Yes.
and do it the right way.
Yes.
And it's real easy to lead a football program where you have a bunch of young men that come to you with that culture already ingrained.
Absolutely, and
So
that's
thanks
what
for
it
having
is.
me,
And that's
guys.
why we
You're
said
welcome, and that was number 17, and thank you, Sonar, And Brummy, happy 40th anniversary,
Yeah, all right.
1983 state championship
You got to
baseball.
sing that song one more time.
Woo! I tell you what, man. Let's hear it for the boys.
Attaboy.
And Dave, thank you again for putting together another great show. 17, brother. We're rolling downfield.
Just what you said. That's what we started to show about Joe. This story was awesome as usual. It's about how the toughness, what he said.
It's the journey.
The grit of the 260.
The grit of watching his father rise up the corporate ladder, then the grit and the toughness, and finding that passion to coach. It's a beautiful thing.
And
So
that is the 260.
it is the 260. And thank you, Denise. Thank you, Ryan. And once again, we are the 260.